back to Hunter Logan Unmiked. I am Hunter Logan, of course, and where we left off last week, I was just coming back from Germany in the military. I got stationed in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Now, I'm not a beach guy, so that wasn't a great station for me, duty station, but nonetheless, I was there. I want to go back, though, to Germany just for a bit, because it was in Germany that I got a letter from my Uncle Perry, who played my dad's band. He was a guitar player, and I looked up to him very much. Now, remember in the early episode, it was my Uncle Derry who taught me my first licks on the guitar. So he's the one who got me my start. My Uncle Perry was a lead guitar player in my dad's band. My Uncle Derry would end up playing the drums for the band. They were called the Country Showmen. But my whole entire life, those two men were around. I sent home a tape of the band I was playing in. It was called Southland USA. And I believe I did a couple of songs. Sang a couple of songs on there. Of course, I was the lead guitar player in that band. This was after I'd got my guitar and my amp, which my father-in-law had brought over, I told you, in the last episode. Well, my uncle had sent me a letter. And he said, you know, if you really want to get serious about this, he said, you're good enough to do this to make a living at it. Now, that was the first time anyone ever told me that. Okay, remember I told you I had a dream. I had this thing I was carrying with me, buried down deep in me. I wanted to be a session player in Nashville. That was my dream. I wanted to be a lead guitar session player in Nashville. But it didn't work out that way. But I still had that dream buried in there. But with Uncle Sam, married, kids, it's buried. But while I was in Germany, I got this letter from my Uncle Perry. He said, if you'll leave the women and the booze and all the drugs and all that stuff alone that everybody fools with, and you just get serious about the music, and you only focus on the music, he said, you're good enough to make a living at it. I never forgot that. So I just tucked that away with the dream. I just locked that away with the dream that was just buried. I just put that away. Went on about my business. So we're leaving Germany, coming to the States, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Now, my wife is happy to be on the beach because she was raised on the water. So she loves Florida. I, on the other hand, am not a fan. Just not. I'm not a water person. In fact, I can't even swim. I'm basically scared of the water. I will go out in a boat with people I trust that I believe they won't throw me overboard to try to make me swim. Of course, I was on a cruise ship go figure that one out as an entertainer. But generally, I don't like the water. But we'd come to find out that Fort Walton Beach would be pretty much a ghost town. It was only full on summer break or spring break, whatever. We got back, and of course, I found a band to play in. I also went TDY, which is temporary duty assignment. I caught a TDY to Las Vegas. That was an experience all in itself. And I could do a whole podcast on Las Vegas, and I'm not going to. But man, do I have a story to tell about Las Vegas. Wow. But I'm going to leave that one alone. But what happened, I'm sitting on the flight line, waiting for the jets to come in. Well, that's what I did. when we go TDY, we crash and recovery. That's what I did. And then when we go TDY, we would catch the jets. When they come in, we'd go tow them to the spot wherever they had to go or whatever we had to do. So I'm sitting on the flight line, basically just waiting to hear the radio. So in the meantime, I'm looking in the back of this magazine and it says become a locksmith. And I'm thinking, I actually am a certified locksmith. People might not know this, but I actually became a certified locksmith and started a locksmith business there in Florida while I was there, which actually turned out good because turns out there's a lot of folks during spring break and summer vacation, all that stuff, that lock their keys in their vehicles. So I could make a quick $40-$50 going to unlock cars. Take a Slim Jim and go and get them out. I had different kind of lockout tools. I could hand file a key. I learned how to do that. Plus I had a key machine where I could make keys. Now, things have changed since then, believe me. I can't do the lock work that people do today because I haven't kept up with it. Neither do I have all the current tools that it takes for being a locksmith today. But back then, I did. And I got great experience because there was a car lot where we lived. We lived off base at the time. And it was in Niceville, Florida is where we lived. And there was a car lot in front of the apartments that we lived. So this guy at the car lot would pick up these repos. A lot of times they didn't have keys to them. They just go pick them up. So I got practice on hand filing keys. So I'd make keys to these cars, and he would pay me to make the keys to the car. So I'd make keys for the doors and for the ignitions, and they would work. So I got good at hand filing keys. So I learned how to do that as well. I actually was a certified locksmith. Bet y'all didn't know that. Now y'all do. And that brought in extra income, and that was pretty cool. And then I was playing on the weekends with bands as well. I always had the music to play. The tour of duty is getting ready to come to an end here in Florida. Bush Sr., the first Bush, comes up with an early out program. So they're cutting back on the military. So you got to have a certain amount of time to stay in, a certain amount of time to stay in and get money, or in a certain amount of time you get out. Well, I was in the out time. Long story short, I'm out of the military. So we moved to Lafitte, where my mom lives, which is below New Orleans. And we buy a brand new trailer. We buy a brand new trailer. We buy a lot next to my mom and them. And we get a trailer, and that's where we're moving, to Lafitte. This is where it really starts to deteriorate some, because that dream is going to start servicing. Little did I realize that I had already put this stuff in motion back in Germany. But it would start to come up really strong here in the coming years. So we move to Lafitte, like I said, and I get a job as a dispatcher with Acme Truck Lines. And I am the overnight dispatcher. It's graveyards, I think it is. I start out graveyards, nights. I can't remember. Because I would work on and off at Acme for 3 or 4 times. And we would move, and quite a few times as well. And I remember being so unhappy at this job. because I didn't like working the job. I didn't like the job, but I knew I had to work. But I really wanted to play music. This was about 92. It was 1992 I got out the military. And then it took a while for me to adjust. And then I realized that I could do some things. And when I say I could do some things, I didn't have to worry about the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Like, no one was going to report me. Or, I didn't have to watch my mouth. I could say what I wanted to say. I could go where I wanted to go. I mean, when you're in the military, there are some restrictions on you. You can't just do whatever you want to do. And then I started to realize, hey, I can do pretty much what I want to do. And you combine that with wanting to play music so bad and being unhappy at a job that you're working and not living for the Lord. It's not a good combination. And this whole time, we got young kids at home, and we have one on the way now at this point. I remember waking up on my 28th birthday, September the 1st. I turned 28 years old, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm looking at myself. And I got one tear rolling down the side of my cheek. And I just looked at myself and I said, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm tired of being told I can't. I'm tired of being told I'm not good enough. I'm going to do it. It's going to take me longer to do it than anybody else because I have obligations. I have kids. I have a wife. So it's going to take me longer to do it. I know it's going to take me longer to do it, but I'm going to do it. That would come to be the most selfish decision I would ever make. And I almost lost my family over it. Looking back now, I would do it different. I would. If I would know what the outcome would have been, I would do it different. I would not have put my wife through that. I would not have put my kids through that. Also, I would not have squashed my dream either. I would have went for it, regardless of what the situation was, which is what I should have done in the first place. But my life is full of shoulda, woulda, couldas, just like everybody else's. Because my wife did not deserve, and neither did my boys and my daughter. Those kids did not deserve all of that hurt that I put on them needlessly. I did that. Nobody else. I have nobody else to blame but me. It's not the fault of my parents' divorce. It's not the fault that I didn't have any counseling to deal with it. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. I am to blame solely. I can't blame it on the fact that, yeah, it's true that that divorce messed me up a bit. Yes, it's true that I was a spoiled, rotten kid. Yes, it's true I got married young. Yes, it's true that I didn't have any counseling, any help, nobody to talk. All that's true, but it doesn't change the fact that it's my fault. Nobody else is to blame but me. I'm the one who caused all of that. Me. I have to shoulder that blame. And I still see the effects of that today. That decision, that one decision, to be that selfish. I still see the effects of that today. Oh, I've been forgiven. And I'm living for the Lord, sure. But the effects of that still have made its mark. Now, I can't change what I've done. I've had that conversation with my son a couple of times, one of them. I'm like, bro, I can't change it. I can't change what happened. I can only change going forward. I've done apologize. I can't do any more than that. I'm not that same guy. And I'm not. But the damage was already done and is done. So nonetheless, I go ahead and finish getting ready. And I make the decision right then and there. I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. No matter what, I am going to play music for a living. Not become a superstar. I have no delusions of grandeur. That's not in my radar. That's not what I'm shooting for. Not what I'm looking to do. Just want to play music for a living. So I become so focused that my sense of humor is no longer there because I'm all business. I have blinders on, if you will. I have blinders on. I'm just all business. I quit a good job. We had insurance. Let me tell you how crazy this is. We have our youngest child on the way, Hunter, right? Which is where I took my stage name from. If you remember in the first episode, I told you. I didn't adopt the name Hunter Logan until 1994. I was born in 1966. I didn't take the name Hunter Logan as my stage name until 94. My son was born in 95. I have a job with insurance, working as a dispatcher at Acme Truck Line. But I take a job playing in an all-girl band, which just happened to be gay. And at that time, you could say lesbians. There was nothing against that word. That's what they called themselves. And the name of the band was Soft Touch. I know, ironic, ain't it? And what's funny about that is the drummer of that band would end up years later being my drummer when I put another band together. And we're still friends to this day. And I love her to death. She's good peeps. And we have stayed close. And I love her. I do. She's good people. I quit a job. We have a baby on the way. Insurance. Good health insurance. And I quit to play music full time with a band where I'm only going to make $50. And they're only gigging once a weekend. You do the math. Now, my wife was upset, but she didn't leave. And we had to get on the government assistance to have the baby because of my selfishness. Can you imagine? The whole term of the pregnancy, she's able to go to the doctor and all that stuff. And then right before it's time for the baby to be born, she's got to get on the government because of me. I told you. If there was a name, I could think of a couple of them. That's just some of the stuff this lady put up with throughout the years of all of this. And there would be much worse coming. There would be much worse coming. Not to mention all the moving. So you know what happens next, right? because I'm wanting to play music, we don't have the money to continue to keep the trailer we just bought or the land. So what's the next thing we do? We got to file bankruptcy. And then we got to move and rent a house. So now we're in the house renting business and moving business with 3 small babies. Come to find out, we rent in a not so good neighborhood. There's a ring where people robbing houses. And one day our house gets robbed and trashed. So we were in a nice quiet place, really. Had our own land, our own trailer. Wasn't a house, but it was a trailer. But I mean, it was ours. And I'm working, right? Got the insurance. We're making it. To not making it. To having to go rent a house in a not so good neighborhood. The house gets robbed. Our TV gets shot up, the BB gun, stuff, eggs all over the place. The house is trashed. Heirlooms are stolen. My wedding band, grandmother's ring, which was a very sentimental thing to me. So I put the family in that predicament just because I wanted to play music. Selfishness. But I don't care because all I'm seeing is me and the music. So when I get to the point coming up to where she has every right to leave me, because she's planning on leaving me, when I say I understood and she had every right, she did. Because I would do a lot worse than this. And we'll talk about that in the coming episodes. And we'll talk more about that because there's more bands and there's more crap in the dark years. Until we get to the darker years. Until we get to the good years. That's going on now. And that's where I want to get to. I really want to get to the good years because I'm excited about what we have going on currently here at HLE Radio. And if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know about HLE Radio, go to HLEradio.com. Check us out. Tune in to the morning show. We're live every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time. Check us out. We have free apps as well. This podcast can be heard on our website, as well as Stitcher, iTunes, all the other podcast places, podcast.co, anywhere podcasts are available. We're there. So until next time, hey, be safe, and I'll see you